Well, of course, we went to French school only, which was St. Peter's and St. Paul's School and so on. We only started learning in school English around the third grade, only one class. And after that, we stayed there, and of course, it was all nuns at that time, and that changed later on, of course. And then when we went to the fifth grade, you had the Brothers of the Sacred Heart. So you didn't fool around too much. And if I did for one reason, of course, my father was called because my aunt was one of the nuns there. Ah. So, but we spoke French at home all the time, all the time. We lived in a big building that had 9 apartments. We lived on the 2nd floor. My grandparents lived on the 4th floor. My uncle on the 3rd, and the other one on the 3rd in a different areas. My father was always gone and so on. He was a mill worker, of course, at Bates Mill. And my mother worked at Andrews Corgan Mill. But he was a boxer. So they used him all over the state, mostly in French areas. They love French boxers. To Biddeford, Waterville, and so on. Providence, Rhode Island, and Berlin, New Hampshire, and so on. And so he was going off, and I don't know if that's the reason, or maybe after he had me, he said, that's enough.
First of all, I was born in this parish. I was born on the corner of Lincoln Street and Main Street at home. It's now a car wash where I was born. I'm one of 8 children in the family. My father had 5 girls before I was born. Then he had my brother and then my youngest sister. I've been fortunate that I've been very healthy. I'm still healthy. I've never really been sick. I do have a sister who died at 49 from a heart condition. And at that time, that was in the 70s, 1970s. And at that time, they had to go to Boston for heart surgery. And she went like 3-4 times. I'm not sure I know what exactly her problem was, but she's the only one in the family that had a heart problem that I'm aware of. Both my parents died of cancer. I went to school here at St. Mary's until the 3rd grade. Then my mother moved me to public school, and the first day was very embarrassing because the very first English word, we didn't speak English. Very first English word the teacher threw at me was, "Were you ever inoculated?" I had no idea what that word was. Some of the kids in school had to tell me. That was the first English word I encountered when I went to public school. And from then, we picked it up naturally. Well, after that, the French went one way. But at home, we always spoke French. Everybody spoke French. My sisters, my brother, my sisters still speak French. They have that half English, half French thing. And when I was dating English girls, it was embarrassing because I'd bring an English girl home and they'd speak half French, half English. And I'd say, listen, she doesn't speak French.
One of the first jobs I had, I was about 17, hand sewing moccasins across the street here. Hand sewing. You had to learn that. That was tough, but it paid well, you know. And then after that, joined the military. At that time, we went to join 5 of us, all Frenchmen, of course. We went to join the military at 18 years old, and we have to take tests and so on. So only one passed the test. We tried to find out why. Couldn't find out. That was in Portland. So when we came back, we went to see the recruiting sergeant and asked him, how come? Well, he says, they've got a certain amount they can get every month. They don't need any more. So that's why we didn't join. But 2 years later, the Korean War started. We were all drafted. The whole... We stayed together during basic training, yeah. Oh, most of them are around. We only lost 2 of them so far. And they all still speak French when we sit together. The same thing, like every morning, we go meet some veterans at Tim Horton in Lewiston, yes. And we just speak French unless someone sits down with us, doesn't understand English. Then we switch, but it's pretty hard. We forget ourselves, but we still speak French.
Well, in this neighborhood, everybody spoke French.
Oh, yeah.
All our neighbors spoke French. There was one English couple, I think their name was Sullivan or Callahan. They were Irish. Very nice people. But the majority of people in the neighborhood all spoke French. Everywhere we went, our entire life was in this neighborhood. We had grocery stores, we had banks, we had shoe stores, we had general merchandise stores here on Lincoln Street. We rarely ever went outside the neighborhood. And the movies were maybe once in every 2 weeks we were allowed to go to a movie. But our social life was here in this area. Bert at one time organized a drum and bugle corps in this area. And it lasted 25 years?
27.
27 years, this drum and bugle corps. And he was the organizer and corps director and business manager and everything. He did it all. So he was in music that way. Yeah. My entire family are musicians. Yeah. Every single one, in family, except the girls. The girls said we gave all our talent to the boys because my brother and I both played in bands.
Yeah, Friday night, Saturday night, we used to couple up and so on and go to the big building over there, at Thibault Fauché, on the 4th floor. We used to dance to Leo Gaumont. And most of us sat down with French. If some people came over, they spoke English, we had no problem whatsoever. And on Saturday night, we normally went to Jacques Cartier, where they had the Dubois family there. It was always something going on for us to keep going and so on. And as far as the drum corps, I have to tell you that one. Of course, we had to give commands and so on in English. So we were invited to go give an exhibition in one of the small towns in Canada. So we went over, but before we went, I trained the people to listen to the command in French because I was going to give the command in French, but they didn't need to know what it was because it's already, you know what you're doing all the time. You didn't even need a command. And the Canadians could not believe that we spoke French. It was unbelievable. Yeah, we did 2-3 towns, usually one weekend, another weekend, and so on. And they put us up for the night, and they fed us, and so on. They love to see Americans. And of course, our drill that we did and so on was a little bit different than the Canadians. So. Yes.
I encountered that when I was playing with Saint-Simon. We went, the state of Maine hired us to play in Quebec for a cultural thing. And that was a governor's ball. And we went up 3 years, I believe, and that was in February. And we played outside in an ice palace. But the Canadians were amazed that people from Maine, of course we did only French songs. Yeah. They were amazed that people from Maine knew those songs and knew them in French. It was amazing. My family is from the Beauce in Quebec, and sort of a twist. My father was actually born in New York. They crossed over into New York State, and my father was born in Tupperware, New York. Tupper Lake, Tupperware. It's a French for me coming out. Tupper Lake, New York. Yeah. And then they moved to Maine, but my family's from the Beauce area of Quebec.
My father was from here, and my mother came from Saint-Jérôme in Quebec. Saint-Gédéon, in the province. Yeah. And her father, of course, from there, he's the one that moved in to the state. Then after a few months, I guess, he brought the girls back. That's where she met my father and so on. My grandfather was from here. His father, I think he had said about 20, 25 years old, moved to the United States. From Canada. He was around Quebec area.